After his second round victory in the presidential elections, Peter Pellegrini will become president, taking office in June this year. We're talking to Ján Orlovský, who is the coordinator for the Platform for Democracy. Mr. Orlovský, the losing candidate, Ivan Korchok, congratulated Mr. Pellegrini, but said that he hoped that he would be independent and act according to his own convictions and without orders. Could it be otherwise?
It is actually, thank you for having me. It is actually the highest order of the whole election campaign due to the fact that Mr. Pellegrini stayed very loyal to Mr. Fico, who was his actually, I would say, political father, who actually even mentioned it on several occasions that without Mr. Fico, Pellegrini would be nobody. So that's why now everybody's expecting that this is the time to come out after your 20 years in politics. Are you capable of running really an independent independent office, or will you be still dependent on your basically political father?
Now, Mr. Pellegrini, in his acceptance speech, he said that this is an end to rule from, I suppose, from power centres, which were artificial power centres. What did he mean by that? It was Chaputova's government or presidency, was it kind of trying to stop things that Robert Fico was doing? It's our position of a president is very similar to yours in Poland. So it's more or less ceremonial function. However, the president still can stop a legislation, which of course can be overturned again by a 2/3 vote in the parliament. So it's basically a small showstopper for parliament or a government. Therefore, I wouldn't see it as a power center. However, I would see it as a vote of confidence or vote of consciousness to the politicians who actually sometimes betray their voters. Now, one of the people who was first to congratulate Mr. Pellegrini on his victory was Viktor Orban of Hungary. Now, why is he so pleased? I think there are two reasons. One is that he was promised that Hungarians will be, more autonomous in the region of southern Slovakia, and actually they voted quite heavily towards Mr. Pellegrini in the second round, based also on some kind, I would say, illegal moves of the Hungarian TV, which is broadcast in Slovakia. So that's number one. And number two, Mr. Orban is very close to Mr. Fico, and their autocratic tendencies are visible not only in Hungary, but also in Slovakia. And could Mr. Pellegrini show now that the elections are over, that he is the moderate that he was trying to portray himself, at least, initially in this race before they took their gloves off, shall we say? That's everybody's hope. That's why the his contestant, Mr. Korchok, was actually posting that congratulations based on the fact that I hope that you will be independently running your office without being pressured to this like pro-Russian design and propaganda, which our current government is exposing on a daily basis in the Slovak politics. Now, Robert Fico had said that no military aid to Ukraine. There is some sales still going on, but what does it actually mean for Slovakia as a NATO country at this point? I think it's a double sword here because there's a lot of military production is being produced in Slovakia. What I think what he meant is that we will not send anything from the Slovak military stockpile into Ukraine. However, we will be continuing the sales of military equipment and military supplies to Ukraine on commercial basis. So on one hand, he signals towards Russia that, oh, we are the peaceful peacemakers, but also to the partners in the West, we will continue doing something militarily, but it will not be the military stockpile of the Slovak military.
Right. Now, on the economic front, of course, Slovakia is on the way of the pipeline which goes from Russia, bringing gas to Europe. Of course, oil is a key factor, and also nuclear technology. Does Slovakia really need to also kind of wave to Russia and say, we don't mean it really?
I mean, especially with gas, it remains to be seen what happens, because we had the contract for our gas company, which actually we were taking the gas at the Slovak-Ukrainian border. Now the new contract is supposed to be taking the gas on Ukrainian-Russian border. Therefore, nobody will be guaranteeing if the delivery will actually happen on time and in the amounts we ordered. So that's something what the gas company as well as the nuclear company, the Slovenské elektrárne, the Slovak energy company, were dealing with before, trying to diversify the portfolio of suppliers. So that's, I don't think it's only the energy supply. It's more of like strategic kind of like we are in the middle. We don't belong to anywhere. And that's what Mr. Fico has been doing since he came to power, even before that, that we are friends of Russia and nobody will tell us what to do in that respect. So I think it's sending mixed signals towards the West, but he caters to a very particular community in Slovakia of about 20 to 30% of the people who still believe that Russia is a great friend.
Still think that Russia is a great friend. In terms of Mr. Pellegrini, what does his victory mean for ordinary Slovak people? Maybe not the intelligentsia in Bratislava, but people in smaller towns, for example. Will they gain anything from this victory?
I mean, he definitely cashed on his visibility as a former prime minister, former chairman of the parliament, former minister of education. So he's been around for a good 20 years in Slovak politics, and therefore his visibility was much higher than Mr. Korčok's. He's more, I would say, warmer. He comes across as a warmer person with the dimples in his cheeks and his voice. So his kind of personality is very warm and fuzzy. That's why I think he's very good, well positioned for the position of a president of Slovakia, who actually has to visit many communities and actually come to ceremonial functions all across Slovakia.
And of course, ceremonial functions all across Europe. And of course, he has the responsibility to ratify and represent Slovakia in terms of its international obligations. Will we see any changes here?
I mean, that's exactly what Mr. Korčok was pointing out, that we would like to see him run an independent office instead of really dependent on the prime minister's wishes, because of this international part of his function, which I'm sure he is capable of doing really well. He comes across as a very friendly person. He's very knowledgeable, and 20 years in politics really makes him an expert. So the only question mark we have for him is, will you be able to actually conduct that policy autonomously for the time coming up?
Now, Mr. Pellegrini stilled the waters slightly after the terrible deaths of journalists led to Robert Fico initially resigning as Prime Minister. But will he still the waters now? How are journalists thinking now about the future?
I mean, the journalists as well as the non-governmental organizations and now even the judges of Slovakia are looking with a certain amount of anxiety to the future, since Mr. Fico basically said on several occasions that you guys are on the line. I will deal with in the weeks coming up, and we can already see. I would say I wouldn't call it censorship, but more careful treading of journalists in commercial TVs, because they, similar to Hungary, are pretty much dependent on a huge commercial package the government can provide in terms of TV time, or the commercial time on TV stations. So, for example, one of the most popular channels here, TV Markiza, that package is about 10.5 million euros a year, which Mr. Fico can easily choke and not provide to the TV Markiza. So you can already see the journalists there writing a letter to their head of the station that they see the interference into their work, which they don't like. So in the upcoming months, we will see how far they are willing to go in that sense, and also towards choking the non-governmental organizations. There is a new law introduced, foreign agents, similar to the one we saw in Hungary, and similar to the one we see in Putin's Russia.
I see. Well, that's a fascinating situation to take note of. Ján Orlovský, coordinator at the Platform for Democracy, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good night.
And now over to Sally Jastrzębska for the latest news bulletin.